I got it. We are now at the end of our afternoon, but we have two very important things, or at least one very important thing left to do, and he will be up here in just a moment to do that for you. I want to introduce Vincent Richardson, who is our chairman. Vincent was up earlier during the member introductions. He is the CIO of Concern, but he also currently holds the chairmanship of the NetHope Board of Directors. And over the next few minutes, Vincent is going to talk a little bit about what the board has been up to, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what NetHope has been up to. As you have heard, no doubt, over the course of today, and we'll hear over the course of the next couple of days, we are obviously a membership organization, and one where we have deep collaborations across our membership and with our partners. And as part of that, certainly our members and our partners should know where the organization is going and how we're doing. And so we'd like to spend a little bit of time focused on where we are, what our priorities are, what we've done since the last time we were all together in San Jose, and where we will be focused for the next year before we go to wherever it is the next NetHope Summit will be. And if anyone has suggestions, we're certainly open to those. So with that, let me turn it over to Vincent Richardson, Chairman of the NetHope Board of Directors.
Good afternoon or good evening at this stage, and you're certainly welcome to the 2015 NetHope Summit. On behalf of myself and the board, we're delighted to have you all here. And I'm also very happy to be standing here for the second time as chairman. I was appointed in May of 14, and it's my second summit as chair. So it's really fantastic to see so many people here in Copenhagen, lots of old friends, and lots of new faces who I'm sure, as David mentioned earlier in the day, will become new friends. The last time we had a summit here in Dublin, or we had a summit here in Europe, was a few years back where we had it in Dublin, where Intel were our hosts. But this week it's Denmark, and in this amazing facility, the UN City. And as a theme for this week, I hope we all fully absorb something the Danes called hygge. Now, I hope I got that right. Okay. So hygge is quite an abstract concept, apparently, and it roughly translates as, well, actually, it's said that you can't translate hygge. It has to be felt. So more on that a little later. Now I've appropriately confused everybody. I'm going to reflect a little bit on what we did since we last met in San Jose last year, where Cisco were our hosts, and as summits go, it was our best one yet. But not long after the summit, one of the major conversation points of that week was the emerging crisis in Western Africa. Not long after, millions of dollars were granted to many of the membership here engaged in the response to assist with their connectivity needs. There were other interventions throughout the year too: Vanuatu, Nepal, and recently Syria, and the resulting refugee crisis that's emerging. However, I'll defer to Lauren to brief us further during her keynote. But suffice it to say, it was an extremely busy year, and with a new NetHope strategy to guide us, the organisation under Lauren's astute leadership continues to grow and to meet those needs. But 12 months ago, you, the membership, elected 5 new directors to the board. We called it a period of transition at the time. We had a new CEO, a new chair, new additions to staff and management. There were a couple of changes to the board during the year along the way too. Ann-May Chang departed Mercy Corps and stood down from the board. David Goodman, also departed the IRC and joined the NetHope leadership team as our CIO in residence. In the meantime, Andy Williams was appointed by the board. He's the CIO of Save the Children, who you saw earlier. He joined as an interim director. Now, last year, I introduced the board to you at this same time, and I'm going to ask them to stand up again and introduce themselves. So let me see who's here in the room. Eric Arnold, Kathy Quence, Radha from iMerit and AnyDip, and as mentioned earlier, involved in the early days of NetHope, and whose kitchen table NetHope was formed on. There you go. Corey, I don't think is in the room yet. Gail, Here's Gail Hyde from Habitat. Andy. There's Andy. Laura, I don't think is in the room. Mark Banbury, in the end over there. Excellent. Jim. I know Jim's here. Jim Daniel from Oxfam. I'm sure you'll come across him during the day. Thomas. There's Thomas Rubacher. And then also not with us this week is Vicky and Romanis. They're not here, unfortunately. But last but not least, it's also worth mentioning that Lauren, our CEO, is a member of the board too. Now, I feel strongly that you should all know who your board is. And please feel free during the week to engage with any or all of us and to learn more about what we do and to ask us any questions you might have. I think that's very important you know who we are. So, since becoming chair and with the support of the board, one of the big pieces of work we did this year was to set about instilling a greater level of governance around what we, the board, is and what we do. The role of the NetHub board has certainly evolved over the past few years. In years gone by, it was heavily operational. We were involved in almost all of the managerial decisions that guided the organisation. And to be fair, at the time, it was an absolute necessity. But we've matured, and we've matured our structure. We've grown the management team, and we've professionalised how we do things. And the board's role and focus is now very much shifting. We're now in a position to place more focus on good governance and oversight to ensure Lauren and her management team are appropriately supported to run the organisation. Last year I informed you all of the newly created board committee structure designed to provide that governance and support. So I'll reiterate, just entertain me. So we have an executive committee where we have the chair, the treasurer, our secretary and 2 vice chairs. We have our finance committee. We have an audit committee. We have a personnel and compensation committee. We have a programs committee, an external affairs committee which looks at our marketing and our fundraising. We have membership. Obviously we're a membership organisation, so we have a very strong membership committee that's been built up. And we have a nominations and corporate governance committee. Now, each of these committees are at this stage fully documented with charters and terms of reference and that define what they do and what their modus operandi is. And I'm really happy to report that each of these committees are fully productively operational and are meeting frequently and effectively interfacing with the relevant members of the management team to support the needs of the organisation. So, why am I telling you this? It is this structure working effectively with the leadership team upon which the success of NetHub will be built in the coming years. Now, so over the past 12 months also, the board is really coming together as a team. We met in May of this year in retreat, and during that time we evaluated the organisation's operations against the priorities of our new strategic plan. We also solidified our thinking on a number of our pressing issues for the board and the organisation. These are diversity and representation, looking at our bylaws, evaluating and updating membership guidelines, and increasing member participation across the organisation. It's an extremely valuable experience and one we will probably do again next year. So those 4 topics, here's how we've made progress against them. So diversity in our representation. So we completed a detailed analysis of the board's composition, both in terms of traditional diversity measures, gender, ethnicity, geography, but also in skill sets and professional experience to determine whether we have the right skills and experience on the board to support and guide management. We do have work to do, and we're considering how we best address those gaps. So, evaluating and updating our membership guidelines. This is very important for the membership this year. As the sector continues to evolve, we're finding that the membership guidelines are very narrow, and we inadvertently find ourselves keeping out some members who would like to bring into the NetHub family. Some of you are in this very room today. And to that end, we're going to be updating the membership eligibility guidelines. Key changes will include removing financial guidelines and focusing more on scope, the size of the organisation, as well as focus on ICT. We're also redefining how we look at the geographical scope of prospective members. Finally, we're looking at creating new opportunities for sector stakeholders to join as non-voting members. You're going to hear more about that during the week and following the summit. And for those of you who will be joining us for the annual members meeting, you'll hear a lot more there. So increasing member participation. We've got great participation in some of our programs. You probably saw that earlier this morning, especially in emergency response and in connectivity and infrastructure. But we want that participation to be consistently strong across the organization. So we have two concrete steps to follow. So we're creating a new process to provide a lot more visibility and opportunities to engage in the program development process. We're going to talk more about that again during the week. We're also actively soliciting non-board director engagement in board committees. And so far we've got 3 of our committees that have non-board participation. That's external affairs, membership and program. We really want to grow that during the year. Lastly, last year we made some tweaks to our bylaws regarding term limits and to ensure that we had a good, strong, solid turnover on the board itself. But we want to broaden participation, but also at the same time we need to balance that for knowledge and consistency. But we're looking to have a much broader conversation with regards to our bylaws, and are they currently serving the needs of the organisation as well as they should? And also, are they going to support us with the kind of organisation we're becoming? But we're going to do this with significant member input. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be outlining a timeline for the next 6 to 8 months to help us take a deep, considered look at our bylaws. Our expectation is that any changes that require approval will be presented here next year at the 2016 Summit. So again, why am I telling you all of this? Well, you elect the board to govern our organisation, and I believe you should do so transparently and with a well-informed membership. And I think it's also important for our partners and sponsors as well to be fully clued in that the organisation is being run as it should. So, back to Hygge. So, akin to the spirit of Hygge, NetHope is a community that is built upon a sense of trust and togetherness, camaraderie and conviviality. By working and sharing and collaborating together, we become stronger. And as a result, we serve our respective communities much more effectively. So, be it during the various sessions during the day, over coffee, with new friends or old friends, at dinner, or with some good Danish beer, or maybe even karaoke. Make your summit Hygge. So, on behalf again of myself and the board, enjoy the warmth and spirit of our unique community and have an amazing week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.